Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration. For real. I'm thrilled to welcome you to Season 2. We meet even more inspiring leaders who get real in all parts of their lives. You can find Real Leaders with Roshini on the radio.com app, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. My guest today is Mike Caguin. He is Chief Creative Officer for Colle McVoy. He is also a year-round bike commuter and Ironman, which let's start with that. Okay. So for people who don't know what an Ironman is, it's pretty intense.
Hi, Roshini. Yes, it is intense. It is a long training schedule, and anything can happen during those months. You could suffer an injury, fatigue, just boredom of training day in, day out in all the disciplines. And then there's a fourth discipline they call for Ironman. It's called nutrition. Eating properly to make sure you're getting the right amount of calories, the right amount of nutrients to keep your body working efficiently and so it doesn't break down. So it is a big deal to do an Ironman, swimming 2.4 miles, biking 112, and then running a marathon is no small task.
And they want you to do that in how many hours?
Under 18, technically. So you start at 7 a.m. and you have to finish by midnight.
Yeah, which I would want to be done. It's like you hope, but you've got to train to get to that place. Well, congratulations that you can notch that on your belt, because that is an amazing undertaking, an amazing feat. How has the fact that you are an athlete and you stay fit, how does that affect your worldview in the advertising agency or the advertising industry? Yeah,
I think of the advertising industry as a microcosm of business in general. And one of the things I learned years and years ago when I ran my first marathon was commitment and discipline. And you have a schedule, it's set, and hopefully you follow it. And there are many days when you don't want to do it, and you just have to grind through it, much like work, much like business. Sometimes it's intense, the training schedule, when you're ramping up to the final weeks, when you're getting ready for the marathon or for a triathlon, can be grueling. And so thinking about business and advertising can be intense as well. And so it taught me a lot about resilience, just discipline, it's something I never really thought was a quality in me, but I learned the power of discipline, which sounds like an incredibly boring word, but very powerful skill to have when you're thinking about a long-term project or a long-term relationship that you're trying to have with a client or with your supervisor.
So clients can be finicky. The advertising industry has changed and evolved. What would you say people don't really understand about the modern day industry?
When you say advertising, people think of Super Bowl television. And obviously, television, video are incredibly important still today to the industry, but it is so complex. There's countless platforms, always evolving, new platforms emerging every single day, so many channels in which to reach people. And so it's very complicated when to reach people, who are the right people to reach, and with what message. The variables within that are infinite. And so navigating that takes a lot of really smart people coming together very quickly to think strategically and then ultimately creatively to deliver work that's relevant to people, work that actually is meaningful to them, and hopefully helps them better understand the decisions they want to make when they make purchases.
So does luck ever play into it? Because I think of some of the big slogans, "Just do it" by Nike, the perennial brand that Coke is, the Ice Bucket Challenge and how that went viral. I mean, does luck play into the fact sometimes that those took on their own lives?
In a lot of ways, yes. So there's an expression we use in advertising that advertising is the intersection of art and commerce. The science part of it, the commerce part of it, has become more, I would say, sophisticated, much more sophisticated, and you're able to understand what works and what doesn't a lot more specifically than you ever have before. The art side, however, is something that you still cannot measure, and there are moments of magic that happen. And those examples you just described are really, really great examples. Another one that comes to mind is the Ice Bucket Challenge. That really was this serendipitous moment that just exploded into a grassroots movement. You can't script that. You can't concoct that. You cannot dream of something like that. Moments of magic just happen, and the art, the craft, the unpredictability of it is what makes it really, really exciting.
You've been credited with leading culture-shifting campaigns. How do you measure what that is?
When someone or an audience that you're trying to reach sees your work and is moved to some sort of action that is compelling, something that is so effective that it goes beyond your wildest dreams, that to me is culture shifting.
And that's pretty amazing, and that I'm sure the magic is happening.
It is. One of the immediate examples I think of is our work with Proof Alliance, which is right here in the Twin Cities doing a pretty incredible job raising awareness for fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, both here in the state and also hopefully creating more of a national discussion as well. Not only helping raise awareness, but also supporting those who are affected. What an incredible organization. So we've been really honored to work with them over the last 2 years, helping them get their story out, tell it in a compelling way, and getting people to move to action, to donate, to want to volunteer, to want to advocate, and ultimately spread the truth, which is any amount of alcohol drinking while you're pregnant or planning to be pregnant is really, really dangerous because it can lead to permanent brain injury. It is not something that only happens to those with alcoholism as a disease. It really can happen to anyone. Even a glass of wine at the wrong time can cause permanent brain damage to a child. And so there is no cure. The effects are lifelong. And it really it's an issue that I've become incredibly passionate about, and being able to have the opportunity to help make a difference within the state of Minnesota and beyond has been a great honor of mine.
And that is wonderful when you can take those professional skills of yours, blend with that passion, maybe some new learnings, and move some mountains.
Absolutely. One of the things that I love about working in advertising is you get to learn a lot about many different varied industries. It's exciting. It drives my curiosity. But ultimately, within those industries, within those projects, when you get to move people and compel them, when they respond to you and say, wow, what you did touched me deeply. And because of that, I want to be a part of your brand. I want to welcome your brand into my life because we have shared values. That to me is the excitement of advertising. It's not the used car salesman yelling at you on TV. That to me is not the advertising that I ever want to be a part of, nor anyone I know wants to be a part of. We want to be part of the more purpose-driven work that so many brands desperately need us for.
What is the weirdest thing that maybe your kids would share with us about you?
That's a great question. I am a huge fan of being creative, obviously, but also laughing a lot and having a good time. And one of the things that I do during Christmas that I've done for the last 3 years is, the little name tags on gifts where you say from to. I cannot stand wrapping gifts. It's one of my least favorite things to do. And so out of self-preservation, I decided one year to have fun with it because I'm like, God, I just don't want to wrap gifts anymore. So I decided to write funny things in the from to. And now it's become a thing, a tradition in our family where they, as the kids are finding the gifts under the tree, they read these out. And ultimately we all end up in tears of laughter. And they just shake their heads like I'm the goofiest person on earth, which is true. I am. I feel like I'm a 12-year-old at heart perpetually.
Well, what fun memories you're also giving to your kids, when you do something like that and they can see you being silly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that I love about being a dad is you get to rediscover the inner child that is within. And granted, my kids are now teenagers, but I still feel like every day I'm reliving in some ways, my own childhood. And what a great gift that is. Hopefully I'm not trying to steer them in a direction that I followed. They're finding their own path, but they probably don't know it, but they give me so much joy because they make me feel like a kid again through the trials and tribulations.
Which is fabulous. Well, I know you take some of that positive energy and laughter to work. I understand you are a great boss and you believe in really leading from the bottom up and being fully present for your team. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I've been a manager for, I'd say, over 10 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And when I started as a manager and supervisor, I thought, I got this in the bag. This is easy. I've kind of done it before on projects, but now that I'm technically a supervisor, I know what to do. And I took this skill set for granted. It is really hard to be a good manager. And I started with more of a command and control kind of model where here's where I want to see the work, here's when I want to see it, here are my expectations. And I realized through that exercise, I wasn't happy and neither were my employees. And so as I stepped back and thought about who am I, what are my strengths, what are people looking for in me as a manager, and I realized my strengths are kind of being among the people. Being among the people, making them feel supported, helping remove barriers, making them feel that I'm lifting them up versus pushing them down. And once I realized that was my superpower as a manager, I leaned fully into that. So I left a little office that I had. It was a little windowless office, and I sat amongst the people. And I made a point to not sit by the window, but sit exactly in the middle of everyone in the worst space. So I was always available, even though I'm in meetings, but when I'm at my desk, I want people to know that I'm available. I walk the halls when I have a free 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and I just ask people, how are you doing? What are you working on? Can I sit down for 5 minutes and generate ideas with you and make them feel that I'm on their team? When I show up for a meeting where we're reviewing work, I am wired to want to like something. And so I always start from a place of positivity because our business is full of rejection. Your ideas are rejected internally, constantly. Many of them are rejected every single day. And then you face the clients who oftentimes are rejecting things either because it's too expensive, it makes them nervous, or whatever the reasons are. And the notion of rejection is hard. It's really hard to face that every single day. And so my point of starting from a place of positivity is to help everyone around me explore the possibilities of an idea. How can this idea be better? How can it be more powerful? And when you start from a place of possibility, you can actually see the possibilities. You can build upon the idea and make it get to a place where it is viable, where it is exciting, where it is on strategy and will ultimately move business.
That's very impressive that you're living that, because I can only imagine how great the results are. All right, let's talk a little bit about your personal life. So I always ask people who I know are married, how do you and the spouse keep it real, keep it sexy?
Yes. I'm pretty personal, but I will say this. I've been married for almost 21 years and proud to say so. My wife is amazing. She puts up with me. I don't know how she does it because I have a hard time focusing in the moment. I have a hard time being present. It's something I'm working on. And it drives her crazy when she's talking to me and I'm off thinking about advertising. I'm thinking about ideas. I'm trying to be more present, but ultimately what I think drives the success of our relationship is laughter and communication. And so all these years later, we still have things to talk about. When we go out to dinner, we enjoy each other's company. And we laugh enough. We laugh enough at the dinner table when the four of us goofing off. We laugh during Christmas time, as I mentioned. And then we also find our moments as a couple where we're laughing at each other. We just enjoy each other's company. But as you know, every marriage is a work in progress, and I don't take it for granted. It's something that I feel like, much like work, I will never master, but I'm in pursuit of mastering.
I love it. Well, great advice to everyone out there in relationships or who want a relationship. Final question. Is there one marathon out there that you haven't run yet that you'd love to run?
I was just talking to a coworker who came back from Zion National Park. She ran a half marathon, and I asked her if they had the full distance. She said, I don't know. So I want to look into that. That is definitely, after seeing the pictures she posted on Instagram, like, wow. I don't care what the elevation climb is, if it's thousands of feet. I don't know about the temperature, but I want to be there. It is stunningly beautiful. So if Zion Marathon National Park has a marathon, Roshini, I think we need to go do this together.
I may just be your road crew. That might be a little too much elevation for me, but that is a great choice. And we wish you that marathon. Thanks so much, Mike. Just a pleasure chatting with you. Until next time, keep it real.